Today we are back on Reddit for something a little bit different. We're going to be reading a couple stories from the subreddit Am I the Asshole? If you're not familiar with this subreddit, basically people just post their stories and ask if they're in the wrong or the right in their certain situation. I love watching these videos on TikTok. I listen to these stories all the time, and so I thought, why not try it? And we as a community can decide if this person was an asshole or if they were not an asshole. The first story says, am I the asshole for making seat swapper cry? So I board the plane, settle into my economy plus seat. Woman approaches asking me to change seats to 32B so her 9-year-old can sit with her. I ask how much cash she has to repay me for the money that I spent on the seat. She says I'm cruel for leaving her son with anxiety sitting alone. I ask if she offered the person sitting next to her son her seat in Economy Plus. She said she needed the leg room. I said clearly she cares more about her own comfort than her son's well-being. If she cared, she would give up her seat and move to the back. She breaks out in a screaming wail filled with how could yous. 10 minutes later, a smiling man sits down next to me grinning about his sweet upgrade. My partner says I'm the asshole for questioning her parenting in public and making her cry. Am I? I personally do not think you're the asshole. Do people not realize that you have to pay for pretty much any seat you have on a plane? Unless you want a random middle seat, you're paying for this seat. I paid. I am not giving it up because you didn't pay. You didn't plan ahead. That's not my fault. I also personally have really bad flying anxiety, so I pick my specific seat because I know it'll make me less anxious to be on a window on the right side of the plane. Whatever. And I'm sorry that your son has anxiety, but again, so do I. And it's not my fault that you didn't plan ahead, so I say you're not the asshole. And she clearly went and sat next to him anyways, so. This next one says, am I the asshole for not telling a man that the research he was mansplaining to me was my own? I, 33 female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information on it as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago. For anyone wondering, the system in my country is different than in the US, so I only studied for 5 years. I'm now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I publish some work here and there, but nothing too major, and no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple of friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor. But we work on the same topics, so naturally we're talking about our work. At one point, we're discussing a point on which we had different opinions. So I explained mine to him, and he explained by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it. Me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was what the author meant, and he said he was because it was pretty simple actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me, in details, like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything because it was pretty funny to me to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on, but at the end of the night, before leaving, I decided to tell him I was actually the person that wrote the work he had quoted and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry, told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to texts from my friend saying I was wrong for causing drama and tension, that I could have been nicer to that friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong there. I mean, yes, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal if I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. Am I the asshole? And then there's 2 edits. They said, edit. I forgot to make this clear and maybe it's a bit of a misunderstanding, but both conversations happened only between the 2 of us. We were the only ones talking about our work and our friends weren't really there when I told him I was the author. So it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing embarrassing for him here is that a woman seemed smarter than him, and I think that's what he had an issue with. And then edit number 2. I've seen some comments claiming this post was fake because that just doesn't happen, and I've seen other stories where the same thing happens. That's not realistic. I'm not trying to justify anything because I don't really care, but I find it funny to see a lot of comments from women sharing similar stories than a lot of comments from men saying this doesn't happen. I don't necessarily think you're an asshole for doing that. I think if there was ever a moment during the conversation where you could have brought up like, wait, actually this sounds familiar, I think this might be my work that you're referencing, I feel like that could have maybe, I don't know, just avoided the whole conflict. But also, who knows if he would have reacted well in the moment either. I feel like it's really hard because you never know how somebody's going to react to something like that. And so I don't know if I would have said anything either. And then maybe at the end you were like, okay, I'm finally gonna say something, and like you built up the courage to do so. So I don't really think you're the asshole, honestly. I wasn't there, I don't know the conversation, I don't know the tone in which the conversation was being held. So it's really hard for, I think it's really hard for anyone to say whether or not you were right or wrong. My cat is going crazy. Also, can you imagine how insulting it is to have someone explaining your own work to you while simultaneously getting it all wrong? But I would probably be so mad in that moment that I wouldn't want to say anything. Like, just keep going. Keep digging yourself in this hole. I don't know. I don't think you're an asshole. Okay, this one says, am I the asshole for playing a voice recording to prove to my friend her daughter isn't nonverbal? So I, 30 female, have a friend, 34 female, that has a nonverbal daughter, 3 female, let's call her Allie. I watch her 4 days out of the week in my in-home daycare. I require contracts for every child, and she never filled out the special needs section, and at no point when she asked me to take Allie did she mention any type of speech delay or non-speaking issue. Although Allie didn't speak much at first, I figured she was shy, she communicated her needs to me very well and said small things to me frequently. Last month I was in the bathroom. I keep the door barely cracked with a wedge so I can listen for any dangers, and they can't walk in on me or see me. She walked by and said, "Ew, you stinky." I laughed. I told her mom I'd pick up what she said, and I was met with, "She isn't verbal, why would you mock her?" I reassured her that Allie spoke to me quite a few times, and I thought it was a huge milestone from when she first arrived and barely said anything. She told me she didn't believe me, and it was messed up that I would make up something like that to upset her. I told her I wasn't trying to upset her, but I wasn't lying either. I didn't press the issue further. Here's where I might have been the asshole. I decided to record Allie, a voice recording, not her face, telling me her name and what her favorite animal is. I had full intention of showing mom the recording, but I was scared at first because of her blow up at me and I didn't know how she would react. After a few short pickups and drop-offs, she told me it was water under the bridge and that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She even insisted that I went to the birthday party. After that, I was just happy Allie could continue and I ended up forgetting that I had the recording at all. Fast forward to Friday, about a month later, she had a birthday party for her other child. At the party, I was socializing with other family members. Honestly, I'm a total dumbass for forgetting that her family fully thought she was nonverbal. I mentioned the funny things that Allie said to me while we were reading an animal book. Turns out the person I was talking to was her sister and she started yelling at me saying, "She is nonverbal. Why are you lying?" Both her and her sister started berating me, saying it's fucked up that I'm making this up about Allie being verbal. At this point, I'm tired of being called a liar. I have 2 disabled children, whom my son was nonverbal for many years. I wouldn't lie about something like this. So while everybody was staring at me, I was scared and felt backed into a corner. So I, remembering I had the recording, decided to prove my case and I'd play the voice recording. Everybody was shocked and my friend told me to leave. I told her I didn't want to cause issues, but I'm not going to be berated and called a liar. She said I crossed the line recording her daughter and that I'm an asshole for embarrassing her at her party. Now I feel horrible and wondering if I should have just let it go. Whenever she would pick up and drop off, she wouldn't ask me much other than, how was her nap? How much did she eat? And I would hand her the daily report and she would leave and not stay for small talk even when I would try to initiate. I know people have busy lives, so I'm not going to try and make them stay and talk to me about their life story. I also didn't do the recording to embarrass her in any way. I didn't mean any vindication by it. I can admit I should have shown her immediately after I recorded it, but I'm a human, and I was afraid of a second blow-up. Then after her saying it was water under the bridge, I was just happy she wasn't going to take Allie away, so I put it in the back of my mind, and I forgot about it. I feel bad about how I went about my defense, hence the post. I know it was unprofessional and unethical. I apologized profusely to everybody at the party, and the family as well. I will be putting cameras in my home that everybody will have access to, as well as updating all the contracts to let parents know what is going to happen going forward. Peace of mind for everybody sounds good to me. Also, I will be making a call to CPS about the situation and see what they have to say. Thank you everybody for your kind words. This one is also kind of hard because I don't think you were the asshole. Mainly because if this child is being treated as nonverbal, or if this child refuses to speak at home to the point that they think she's nonverbal, I can't imagine what she's going through. I think calling CPS is a good move on your part because there's something going on here. Obviously, you know that the way you went about showing the recording probably wasn't the best, but at the same time, what else were you supposed to do? You're being yelled at, you're being scolded in front of an entire group of people over something that is probably much deeper than we even realize. So yeah, I probably would have been like, and what is this then? Because what the fuck else are you supposed to do? You definitely should have showed it to her when you recorded it. You know that. You've already said that, so I'm not gonna be going in on that. Obviously, you know what you did wrong in this situation, and I don't think you were the asshole for what even happened. I am like scared for that little girl. I just can't imagine what's going on at home. I'm like curious what the comments are saying. Okay, yeah, somebody said not the asshole. I can't imagine what this child is going through being treated like she's completely nonverbal when that's not the case. In fact, I can't help but wonder if the way her mother seems to react may have a part to play in why she's not verbal around her mother. That being said, you did the right thing trying to bring this to the mother's attention in a polite and calm manner. Her reaction was unreasonably abrasive, as any parent of a nonverbal child would be over the moon to hear that their child is beginning to make progress. I was thinking that too. Wouldn't you be like so excited? Like, oh my God, what did she say? Like, I don't know. Why are you getting mad? They said, I don't think recording the child's voice was in the wrong. You weren't posting it all over the internet. You weren't going behind the mother's back and showing people the recording. And you only did it after she berated you for lying, which wasn't the case. You recorded the voice to specifically try to update the mother on her daughter's condition, as having that updated knowledge is important. I would normally say it may have been a better option to ask permission to record the child, but judging by the way you described the mother, I feel like you probably would have been led to more conflict. Also, she embarrassed you at the party, not the other way around. It's not your fault she feels embarrassed for not knowing her own kid better. Here's my thing too, after reading that, I'm like, you have this child 4 days a week. She is in your daycare. I'm assuming you're teaching her things while she's there and whatever. I feel like you probably know all of the kids in your daycare very well. I don't think it's insane for you to be like updating the mom on her condition, like this person said. You're seeing them constantly, and if she trusts you enough to have her daughter 4 days a week, why does she not trust the things that you're saying are going on with your daughter? Like, why would she not want to hear more about her daughter's improvements and this and that? I'm like pissed at the mom. Okay, this one says, am I the asshole for threatening to sue both the school and the family of my daughter's bully? I can already tell that you're not the asshole. I can already tell, but we'll see. I, 30 male, and my husband, 33 male, have an 11-year-old daughter who's been going through severe bullying at school. It just keeps getting worse. It started off with just name calling, but has gotten worse over the past few weeks. Context, she's adopted, which is something we've always been open about and celebrated as part of her story. Recently, some kids found out about her adoption and started saying horrible things, telling her stuff like her birth mother didn't want her. They tell her she's unwanted, tell her she's a reject, which is not the case. Her mother loved her very much to the point she literally gave her life so she could be here. And if it wasn't bad enough, I literally have chills from that. That makes me want to cry. If this wasn't bad enough, a few days ago, she came home in tears with her hair butchered. They had cut off 2 inches of her ponytail in class while taunting her, calling her names, and laughing at her reaction. They will follow her through the halls and make fun of her on a regular basis now. Oh my God, I'm so mad. Both my husband and I have been in touch with the school about the bullying more times than I can count. I emailed, called, even showed up in person to speak with teachers and the principal, but all I got were empty promises that they would look into it. Nothing changed, and my daughter's mental health has taken a hit. She's anxious, struggling to sleep, and now begs us not to send her to school. I'm like literally gonna cry. Finally, out of frustration and feeling like no one was taking this seriously, we reached out to a lawyer to explore legal action against both the school and the bully's family. Only when the school and her parents learned we were considering legal action did they start to act. Suddenly, the school calls me to say they're moving the bully out of my daughter's class and claim they had a talk with her. The girl's parents reached out too, saying they would talk to their daughter and promised it would stop. But honestly, I don't believe them. It feels like they're all saying this just to get me to back off and avoid legal consequences. I worry that once the dust settles, things will go right back to how they were and my daughter will still be dealing with this. My family thinks I should give the school and parents a chance now that they're finally taking action, but I feel like it's all for show. So am I the asshole for moving forward with legal action even though the school and the bully's parents now claim they're handling it? You are not the asshole. I'm so sorry, but they're doing it out of fear. They're not doing it because they actually feel any sort of sympathy, empathy, whatever the fuck, for your daughter who is going through quite literally hell. 11 years old. This is like unbelievable. No, you should 1000% follow through with taking legal action because this is unacceptable. And the fact that they are not taking it seriously, or were not until now, I don't care. I do not care. They should have taken action when the first report came in, before things escalated to this point. I'm like, that's assault. Them cutting off 2 inches of her ponytail? No, I don't care. You're not the asshole. I'm so I'm so mad right now. That breaks my heart for your daughter. Like, absolutely breaks my heart. No fucking child deserves to be treated like this ever. Like, it's unbelievable. I literally have to move on. Not the asshole. Never in a million years would you ever be the asshole. Am I the asshole for making my sick husband clean up his vomit? My husband has been dealing with a stomach bug of some kind the last few days. Vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, etc. I've been taking care of him and the house and the kids all by myself, which is a lot of work with 2 under 5. This morning my husband wanted to try eating something, so I made him toast as requested. As he was on the couch nibbling on his breakfast, I was making our toddlers their breakfast and feeding them while I hear him violently gagging in the other room. He had been hanging out in the living room during this entire illness, so he had a trash can there in case he had to puke or whatever. I called out to him to remember to use it or to go to the bathroom if he thought he was gonna vomit. He didn't listen and threw up all over the floor and got some on the couch. You would think this man is 5. You would think this is another child under 5 years old. The fact that I'm not even done, but the fact that you had to call out to him to remind him to use the trash can, yeah, I wouldn't clean it up either, and we're gonna read the rest. Husband then comes into where I'm feeding our kids and says he's gonna go to our room so I can clean up his puke. I said, absolutely not. There was really no reason for him to vomit all over the floor, so he needed to take care of it. I had been cleaning it up all weekend already without complaining when he was getting sick by surprise, but he has plenty of time to prepare for this and not make a mess. Husband is now all mad at me for not showing him a good bedside manner, so am I the asshole? Bedside manner? Are you a nurse? Update, never expected so many comments. I feel very validated. All day my husband kept making snide comments at me about not being a good wife, and anyone who cares about their loved ones wouldn't punish them when they're sick. So I showed him your comments and it finally shut him up. No, you're not the asshole. No, you're not. Because you are a grown man. A grown man. I already had to call out to you from the kitchen because I don't trust that you're even gonna puke in the trash can that you have next to the couch. So the fact that I called out to you and you still proceeded to vomit all over the floor and partially on the couch, you can clean it up. I'm not cleaning that up. That's insane. You're a grown man. A grown man. Bedside manner, and I'd be like, oh, go fuck yourself. If it was like a situation where like they randomly got sick and they puked and they have puke all over themselves, they need to shower, whatever, yes, of course I would be like, oh my god, okay, you go shower, I'll start cleaning this up. But the fact that she called out, remember to puke in the trash can, and he still puked all over the floor after he's gagging. You're gagging loudly. You know you're gonna throw up. So what are you doing? Oh my god. I'm gonna put a trigger warning at the beginning of this because puke. Okay, I think that's all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys like the Am I the Asshole, I could definitely do more. Like I said, I listen to these all the time. I think every single one that we had today was not the asshole, which I did not do on purpose. I just like picked a bunch of ones that sounded interesting. I didn't really look at the tag on if people had declared them an asshole or not. So I'll do that next time. Next time we'll throw in some assholes, huh? And if you guys hated this, yeah, let me know and I won't do it again, I promise. But I'm gonna go. I love you guys so much and I will see you in the next one. Bye.